Here.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Here.
Mr. Fuller.
Here.
Mr. Carnifax.
Here. Next up is the minutes from April the 9th. Any corrections or additions? If not, a motion?
Make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
Ms. Hutton.
Aye.
Mr. Bellamy.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax.
Aye.
Next is board member announcements. Anybody have anything they want to report to the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't know anything too significant. I do want to thank Todd for carrying us through the Sports Center. John Carnifax and I have sort of set up we need to go where we won't go, so we're trying to go twice a month, and he's been very accommodating, and we've tagged along some board members and some staff members, and we haven't had somebody go through yet that wasn't absolutely blown away by what we're building. So it's really exciting to take new people through it. They've ridden by it, they hadn't been in it, and hearing their comments when they walk through has been a lot of fun. So I just want to thank them and encourage others that have an interest, at least from the county side and probably your organizations, that if they have an interest, they ought to go out there, and I'm sure Todd would accommodate their walkthrough as well. So.
Including staff, if there's staff members that want to see it. It is an impressive facility for sure. More and more so every day as we get closer to actual doors. Anybody else? All right. Reports, financial report, Ms. Dameron.
Yes, thank you. You'll have in your packet the financials for May 31st, 2025. Typical expenditures during the month, the payments to MEB for construction progress, Kemper Sports. But what I really want to talk about is you may have noticed a change in the format of the statements, and as we move into year-end closeout and we're finalizing some audits for prior years, I wanted to note that we're moving more into the formal format you may see. You'll notice that we have some work in progress for the capital expended to date, or capital progress to date, I should say, as well as you now have a bond payable on there, which slightly changes the outlook of the net position. However, keep in mind that I'm also holding off, we have some managed funds in SNAP that will be coming due later this month, and so I've been holding back on some drawdowns. You'll also note, if you turn to your last page, that there is a negative income of about $500,000, a little over $500,000, and some of that's related to some funds that will be coming from the city to support the entertainment venue that we've been programmed, and will be some year-end transfers for that. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about that either. And lastly, we are pretty close to bringing forth the FY23 and 24 audit. We are having to determine the GASB requirements for the CW lease, and since its effective date was May 26 of 23, I'll have some entries to post back related to that. So that'll be forthcoming, and I don't see any delays once we get through the year-end closeout with being able to bring forth the audit for FY25 on a timely basis. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
No questions? All right, great. Thank you, Ms. Dameron. We'll move on to the operator report. There's a new face today. You guys going to arm wrestle over who gets to give the report?
Last one for me, I think. No, just kidding. Just kidding. John DeMeglio with Kemper Sports here to give you the operator's report. We're going to be introducing our new general manager, Ben Hardwin, is standing here. He's going to give you just a couple of brief notes about himself. I know he's met many of you in the community already, and we're really excited to introduce him. We're going to go through our FF&E and some of the elements that we continue to work through with MVP as we finalize our list of procurement heading into operations next year. We're going to give some operational and some marketing updates today. So without further ado, Ben Hardwin, Facility General Manager for the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Event Center.
Couldn't Photoshop some hair on there for me, huh? I'm honored to be here today. I really appreciate this opportunity. You know, my background spans 3 decades in the sports recreation and fitness industry. One of the commitments that I feel we can make to this community is that we're going to represent this facility with pride and professionalism. We're going to provide an elevated experience that will create, a reputation that proceeds beyond this region, nationally. And when I took this position, it was an amazing opportunity. Facility is beautiful, very honored to be here. But I don't think until I got here in the community and started speaking with individuals at local restaurants, at the gas station, at Target, and they asked what I do, and I told them that I really understood the power of this facility and the impact it's going to make on the community. So I feel very privileged and honored to be here. I'm excited to work collaboratively with the board and all the other stakeholders that are involved, and very much looking forward to it. My wife and our golden retriever will be here next week, and so we'll be permanent residents here, and excited to participate in everything this community has to offer. So thank you.
Welcome, Ben.
All right, so as we move forward with FF&E, in the last month, we've reviewed wayfinding signage with MVP and provided recommendations to improve guest flow and circulation, along with ease of finding different areas and avenues in the building. We've refined our electronics and point-of-sale computer recommendations to the board, along with staff computers, point-of-sale terminals, and/or autonomous roving units, as I call them, or handheld devices to be able to provide sales opportunities in a number of different areas. Currently, Ben and I are working on refining the sports equipment FF&E package that we've received budgetary quotes for. We're bringing those down to a base level of bid specs to go out and get multiple quotes on any pieces of equipment that are needed to purchase to support both sport operations and any of our hospitality operations outside of what's going to be included in the building. And as we formalize that process, we'll be working with MVP to give our recommendations on purchase. Some operational updates. In the last 4 weeks, we've onboarded our general manager. Ben has been on board since May 11th. He has spent numerous days in market meeting with all of the community stakeholders. He additionally went to another Kemper sports facility for some training. We've developed our full hiring timeline for the other key roles along with our line level staff as we look to the next 12 months, which will bring us right up into operations and in combination with the budget provided to the HTRFA board. We've developed our technology plan. We've created a vendor list based on KSM's preferred vendors and have opened up accounts in case, as we move towards purchasing into the future. We've launched the website, which was one of the bigger pieces that was critical for our, outreach programs and community development, and along with communications. And then we're furthering developing our brand assets. Incomplete tasks in the last 4 weeks was pending the hiring of the sales and marketing manager. Ben has dwindled our candidates list down to 5 candidates. They're currently receiving second interviews through Kemper Sports team. There'll be a third interview process with some other senior leadership from our sales and marketing department. And then final candidates will be presented to the HTRFA board for recommendation on next steps. The pending tasks are hiring the sales marketing director and then implementation of a pre-opening phone system. Currently, we've redirected all of the communications back to Ben's cell phone, and then once we have an established location, we'll set up a temporary phone line till we move to the building and establish our permanent phone numbers. Some next milestones are coordinating the local sports calendar. Ben has been in community with the different Parks and Rec departments, understanding their needs, and we'll be working with the board and Robbie on finalizing a calendar for any local programmatic opportunities. He's building the formalized SOP processes for this facility in combination with Kemper Sports' broader standard operating procedures for sports complexes. Our sponsorship sales program is nearing full development, and we should be able to share that by the end of July so that we can start selling local sponsorships, although we're fielding inquiries right now and developing packages based on our local needs. We're going to get with the board on developing a grand opening plan and what the first event's going to look like, and then further developing our conference services and sales content to work with Visit Williamsburg and some of the hotel entities to sell some non-sports activity. So again, welcome Ben, our general manager, is kind of the big deal that's happened in the last month. We're actively recruiting our director of sales and marketing. And then in a parallel route, we're recruiting our sports director. We've had 85 applicants for that role. Ben is actively dwindling that role down and is conducting interviews currently, and we'll move next candidates along for a second process and through Kemper Sports. Operationally, we continue to work through the food business licenses so that we can get a liquor license application. And then we've transitioned all sales to Ben at this point from John McDonald, who was helping us support the project in the absence of a general manager while we were doing the recruiting. We've had 5 new leads in the last month. Currently, we have 30 committed dates, and I know it's a little wonky with the numbers up there, but that's fully contracted and executed events. We've collected $26,000 in deposits to date, and those are sitting in the bank account for us, which we were really excited to present. We're looking to move a number of contracts from pending to final, Catchball, Americheer, Cat Fressburg Quest, and then the Corvette Show, which unfortunately moved out of 2027 and into 2028 based on a conflict in their schedule. We should be finalizing that contract by the end of the week. Some of the fully executed contracts are cheer festivals, Hype Volleyball, Blue Silver, Phenom Hoops has 7 dates, Big Shots has 4 dates, NTBA, Southern Volleyball, Junior 3, Triple SB, and then 3 Triple SB are all still contracted. And then new inquiries that have come in are CVCU Volleyball, Super 32 Wrestling, the NASP Virginia, which is an archery event, and then Jamie Kitt Gymnastics is a local gymnastics organization that's looking to host some experiences. We've formally made hoops into lost business. We had continually kept going back and forth on trying to refine a date with them, but at least at this point haven't been able to come to a resolution on a date that works for them and works for the facility. So they may come back into our pipeline at some point, but right now we've moved them out of our business cycle. The website is launched and active on both mobile sites and any other type of means of accessing the internet. We're seeing good traffic, and we've had a number of inquiries come directly through the website thus far. Our social media handles have now been taken over by Ben directly in the interim of us hiring a sales and marketing director, and he's developing strategic content that you'll see a more robust posting schedule coming from those. And then we have developed a marketing dashboard that's going to track our digital footprint across each one of these platforms. Now that the website is live, at each one of these meetings we'll show both what our click-through rates are, what our average page visits are, where those clicks are coming from, along with our impressions on any social media platform to come. And fortunately this pulled wonky, but this is an example of what that would be. That's all I have for today. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
The only thing that I was going to bring up during the operator's report is, and I don't think we need official action on it, but, you know, when we were hiring for the facility manager, we had like a sub-team that I think consisted of Robbie and Brian to assist Kemper. And as they now move into marketing, John and I had a conversation about would we do that again? And my thought was it might be more appropriate to have a couple of the PIOs as opposed to the Parks Recreation directors, but it doesn't matter to me. That was just my thought. How would you all like to proceed? They need 2 people or so to represent the board in the hiring process.
I think that might be good. I guess the question is, where do we draw the line as HTRFA and their hiring? At what level? At some level, that's got to stop.
Sure.
So I didn't know where that is.
Yeah, right. And I guess that's more appropriately a question for Kemper is we're happy to help, but it sounds like maybe there's some willingness to the board to take a step back.
Sure, and typically in most of our board-driven or municipal facilities, the general manager is always vetted or at least made the introduction to the board and key members. The sales and marketing director is somewhat of a coin flip. Usually after that, it's kind of left to our discretion. There are team members and our staff members, but take the marching orders of kind of who ownership is, and so we're willing to participate. However, I do think in this community in particular, having additional folks meet our sales and marketing director would never be a bad thing. I think getting some comfort level of communication in advance of working with all of the vested municipalities and partners is going to be important. So I would welcome it for this hire in particular, but when we get to like our facility maintenance manager, I'm not sure if there's going to be a need other than maybe if there's a counterpart in a municipality that we might want to introduce him to shortly after hire, him or her after hire.
Right. And in our case, it would probably be more appropriate to have somebody from tourism versus our PIO.
Well, I think maybe there's a desire to have somebody from Visit Williamsburg anyway, in addition to whoever we might want to represent the HTRFA, so.
That's right.
Any thoughts? Do you want it to be Robbie and Brian again? Do you want to bring in the PIO? You prefer Robbie and Brian?
Really voluntold.
That's right, that's right.
And I'm fine if they participate. I'm fine if we don't have a board member. For me, it'd be probably a communication manager that works with John and I, that just have her involved as a different type of personality, but I'm okay with however we want to do it.
Do you have a preference, Mark? Okay. All right, well, we'll work out a plan then, John, and decide who it's going to be, whether it's one of the board members or somebody from county and city staff or what have you.
Excellent. Our process, we have probably 10 days before we need to make a decision after they go, this group goes through the second round, then the third round will happen beginning, middle portion of next week.
Okay.
But Visit Williamsburg will have somebody on there.
I think that's the plan, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next is the construction report.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Walker. I'm with MVP. I am HTRFA's construction manager on the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Event Center. This is our monthly update. I know a lot of you have been out there. Some of you haven't, and we haven't met for, I guess, a couple of months, so a lot has happened out there. I'll go over our milestones. They've held. Let me start with substantial completion and final completion. That is all holding, and I will stick to we are on schedule or slightly ahead. Milestone updates are permanent power. We reported at our last meeting that we're in talks with Dominion Power. We're still on track for permanent power, setting our transformer this August. And we've had contact with them as recently as this week, trying to set that up. It's a pretty large crane that's coming in to set that 10,000-pound transformer. Our roof is complete on both structures, being the PEMB and the hub space. Building dried in. We're reporting this is not a traditional dry-in with storefront and glass and everything in it. This is a construction dry-in, so if you come by and I've said the building's dried in, we'll be able to start some activities on the inside, but we'll not have startup, obviously. We're not going to condition the space, but we will keep the elements out. So that dry-in for the PEMB is June, so sometime this month they're hoping that the PEMB structure itself will be dried in, whether it's poly or something up on our openings. In the hub space, it's July. Moving on to construction complete. So site work, we haven't done a whole lot out there since we started the building until this week, and I finished this update prior to, but our site contractor has a contractor of theirs starting curb and gutter. So we're going to start to define some of our walkways, parking areas, things of that nature has started this week. We did complete all the sanitary sewer repair and CIPP lining, so that 800 plus or minus feet that we had to repair that we tied into for the facility on their campus is all active now. Exterior mechanical pads are 100% complete, so everywhere we have a DOAS unit or any other RTU sitting out back, you can see in the pictures, all those pads are complete. Building progress, Total complete, we're around 60%. I mean, I don't think I'm sandbagging, but the contractor thinks he's ahead of that. All interior concrete is complete. So I know some of you had a chance to come out and watch some of these concrete pours. So I'll summarize a little bit of the total amount of concrete that went in that building. Between the footers, all the flat work, both on mezzanine, group areas, hub space, sports court, we're around 6,000 yards of concrete that went into that facility. We've started and are continuing brick on the south side of the building, so if you guys have gone by there recently, you've seen that we're flying along Visitor Center Drive. We should be done with that brick this week, correct? So the front facade, brick facade, will be complete this week. We're continuing the IMP walls on the east side of the hub space. That's about 90% complete. So those are our insulated wall panels. And you can see, like up front, that's where our feature gym is. They're probably working their way back to that banquet area. We have started and are continuing all interior framing in all areas of the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Event Center. There's a lot of framing going on. All the offices up top, bathrooms being framed out, all our IT rooms, the kitchen space is being framed out. It's going on in just about every place in there. We have begun and are continuing the sprinkler rough-in. We're continuing the MEP rough-in throughout. So we have all the trades in there just about every day. Hub space, total complete, 40%. We are 90% done with the kitchen framing. Completed installing divider curtains and tracks in the banquet area. So if you guys do have an opportunity to go out, or if I walk you, I typically take you back to the banquet area and I show you where those divider walls are, how we can divide our banquet room, or open the whole thing up to the hub space. Exterior metal stud framing is complete on the building or the hub space. So I don't know how that jumped from one to the other. All right, so that's complete. So we also have continued design discussions on the rear feature gym. That's ongoing. That has been, to get it right, a lot of discussion. We want to make sure that what we're going to present and move forward with the public is great for everybody, looks fantastic. Obviously, when you window shop, we have nothing but one big window in the front of that hub space, and whatever we put there, we want that to be the right decision. Sports courts, PEMB, total complete is 35%. So again, all under slab rough-in is complete. We have begun painting the PEMB ceiling. When you walk in there, it's white. It's really nice. That's about 40% complete. All below grade turf duct is 100% complete. All interior sports court concrete slabs complete. I mentioned that earlier. And then all turf equipment concrete pads are complete. So again, if you've walked through there, I've shown you where those pads are going to be going and where it's going to be sitting against that west wall. Any questions about construction itself, what I've gone over there?
I know we did the utility work with the sewer line and all. Did we find any exciting things we weren't expecting? I know a lot of that was unknown.
This is Todd's favorite topic.
Yeah.
Let me shake my head for 30 seconds. I think early on, my biggest concern with any of the utilities out there was that sanitary sewer line. And I think my worst fears kind of came true. That's old infrastructure. A lot of it was terracotta. And we know with CW, a lot of what was running along Visitor Center Drive was tied in north of that where our building was. There was an old hotel back there. There was some other infrastructure. And they allowed it when those buildings went away. They didn't maintain. So we had approximately 7 point repairs. And this line was about 10 to 11 feet in the ground. Obviously, when you point repair, you're going down to repair a 3-foot or 2-foot section of line, but the hole is pretty big, and there's a lot of that goes along with that. And then you have to find the right pipe for ID, which is the inside diameter and the outside diameter, so it all couples together, and then you can CIPP line it. So to answer your question, yeah, we ran into a lot of what we didn't expect.
but it's complete, so thank you.
100%, yeah. One of the most interesting pieces of it, there was a lot of concrete in it, and we thought, who poured concrete down there? Who, like, yeah, we had a good 10 feet. That was the biggest point repair. And that came from when they abandoned an old lateral. It had leaked through the Y into the main line and then set up in there, so we had to take all that out. So anyway, it's done now. That's a 50 or 60-year pipe, easy, with a CIBP lining. Any other questions about construction?
Todd, you talked about yards of concrete, but how many yards did you say?
Approximately 6,000,
6,000. And a truck's 8 to 10 yards?
9 yards.
It's a lot of trucks in and out of there.
It was, yeah. I know Robbie came up to a couple of the pours, and it was like the screed machine they used for those pours, because we were about 550 yards per pour in just the sports court area. We were 2 pours on the mezzanine of 200-plus yards, same thing on the gathering area underneath. It was well orchestrated. I mean, the flow of the construction and how they thought it all through was very well put together. I mean, it's a feat to pour hundreds of square feet, thousands of square feet every Tuesday, period. They never missed a mark. I think the one day we missed that mark is because the concrete guy he didn't have concrete, so we had to move it a day. Yep.
Was that 600 trucks?
Plus. The footings themselves, some of the larger columns were 25, 35 yards apiece, 40 yards apiece, holding up those larger columns on that PEMB. We were pouring 3 or 4 of those a day when we were pouring the footings. So, yeah. It's been fun to watch something that size go up. I've never worked on a building this large. It might be a 750-piece puzzle, but it is a big piece puzzle. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Regular meetings scheduled, so we do have regularly scheduled OAC meetings that we attend every 2 weeks. Our next one is on the 19th. And then opposite weeks of that, we do a coordination meeting with the owner-operator, Kemper, at 9 o'clock on Thursdays. And I think you guys are CC'd in that too, I believe. But anyway, anybody's welcome to attend. One of our new that we're adding for our report this month is construction change order review. So, is that, click again?
That is not on there.
It is not. Okie dokie. So, change order review with any construction project, obviously, if we're all fairly well versed in construction, right? Change order is the nasty word. I would like to say that on this project of this magnitude, we have managed an unforeseen change orders, things that we didn't anticipate or that we have not asked for, right? Those are okay ones because we think we're going to ask you to give us a price to do something extra on top of what's in the contract. Outside of that sanitary sewer line, which will stick in my craw forever, we only had a couple other small items. The sanitary sewer line, all told, was around $150,000, which isn't too shabby. All told, we have fully approved, unforeseen, right around $200,000. And on an $80+ million project, I feel like that's a home run. Most of what I look at in change orders when we're reviewing them is I look at the contract amount, and then you want to keep your change orders low, right? But there's always something that you don't see during design. So we have a multitude of them on there. I know 39 PCOs seems like a lot. In those are all of our allowances. So that's contract money, that's money that we had in there for, and I'll give you an example of one of those is unforeseen soils, or unsuitable soils. Anytime you're building a pad that large or you don't know what's underground or even if you do geo reports, you're going to find a patch somewhere that was not suitable for a parking lot or for a building pad or what have you. We had an allowance of $100,000 there, and we haven't even used 10% of that. And we have done, I should knock on wood, we shouldn't use any more of it. Everything out in the parking lots, we have proof rolled. Obviously, the building pad being done has been proof rolled. That is done. So we should not encounter any more unsuitable soils. So we're doing, I think, in general, very well. There have been a couple of asks, obviously, to enhance the sports center or things that we didn't think about, say netting that wasn't in the contract. We're going to have to put some sort of netting up. We're waiting on that price. So those are the types of items that are being presented to us or that we're asking for pricing from.
That netting you're talking about is around the
It's-
spectator area on
it
the first
is.
floor, not the netting in the courts. The netting.
Not the netting in the courts. Those dividers, those are all in it. And I know that I've spoken about this netting as I've walked people around. Brian, you got to come out there because then I could fill you in on that too. But that netting we were hoping to make operable depending on what event we had. We were trying to think ahead. That's not going to be possible because you'd have to cantilever so far out. So some of these, that's why we haven't gotten that price. That was told to me a couple days ago when we were discussing getting that PCO cost. And we talked through what it would look like to have them operable, and I hadn't made any decision, but the cost of that may be prohibitive. So we may make them fixed. But anyway, that's something that I always present to somebody that's on the board or somebody that's going to make that decision, and we'll move on from there. Let me think about any others that are interesting. Shot clocks, we did not have those in the contract, so we're asking for pricing for that. Increasing the size of an exterior door. That is all in an effort to enhance or be more flexible in what we can and cannot entertain in there as an event. So all these things we think we're putting a lot of thought and effort into, and then obviously my job is to vet all that and go back and forth and negotiate with the contractor. So do you guys have any questions about?
Todd, I think, one of the takeaways for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at the change order sheet is right now, all of the change orders fit within the savings from the allowances in the contract.
That is correct. That's 100% correct.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
Next up is the legal report. Sands Anderson.
Just a regular month for Sands Anderson's representation of HTRFA. A couple of questions, review some contracts, but nothing significant.
Thank you. Next up is the open forum. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to address the board, come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, keep your comments to 5 minutes. I don't see anybody, so we'll move on. Nothing for closed session today, and so we'll move on to new business. The first action item today is consideration and direction regarding a facility logo for the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Events Center. Kemper? I don't think it's in the presentation.
Okay.
But it was in the packet.
Perfect. So we're here today to make a recommendation to proceed with a logo program based on a number of different stakeholder meetings, many variations, and a lot of different kind of changes, modifications to achieve the goal of a visually stunning brand. It's our recommendation actually to proceed with 2 logos. One that will be reserved as a primary logo that'll be the visual identifier of the facility that'll be used for all formal print, social, digital environments, and then a secondary logo that's really meant more to support some sorts of merchandise, different types of banners and applications where a lengthier logo visual representation would be sufficient. If you need further detail, I can pull my notes up. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get it up here or not, but it's our recommendation to proceed with those two logos and have a visual identifier of the facility at this point.
I think you told me, why did we end up with that color, or how?
Yeah, so we went through an entire branding exercise where we developed a color palette, not just for the logos, but also for all of our branding material. And it was done intentionally to not tie back to any one of the color palettes that represent specifically any of the communities. The other thing is all of the communities, and then many of the vested stakeholders locally all kind of fall into the red, white, and blue environment. So as we were looking at our color palette, we had started down the path of leveraging some of the color schemes that are going to be inside of the building, but also something that can represent this facility as independent but collective of the entirety of the group. So that's where the color palette came from, and kind of how we built towards kind of using the greens and golds as opposed to tying back to, the red, whites, and blues that are in everybody's color scheme at this point.
Any comments, questions?
Look fine.
So it's on the agenda as consideration and direction, but probably best just to take a vote and approve the recommendation from Kemper. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the logo or logos.
Second? Second? All right, somebody.
Ms. Hutton? Aye. Mr. Bellamy?
Aye.
Chair Trivett?
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax?
Thank you so much.
All right, that concludes our agenda for today. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Hutton?
Aye.
Mr. Bellamy?
Aye.
Chair Trivett?
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Fuller?
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax?
Aye. Thanks, everybody. We are adjourned.